another Mindy's Monday Mayhem tips. Today we are going to demystify ironing fabric. I've had a lot of requests to talk about irons, starch sprays, pressing, a little bit of everything. So today might be a little lengthy because I'm going to try to go over all of it, kind of. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start with the discussion of starch sprays. So we carry two different brands. We carry one called Flatter and one called Best Press. Okay, so if you've been around Katie or I or the shop, you may have heard that we kind of create our own concoction. So what we do is we'll take an empty bottle. And this is just a Best Press bottle. I like their mister. And it's got the easy, nice trigger. And it's a bigger size. So it doesn't really matter. Spray bottle of some sort. What I do is I use 1/3 of Best Press, 1/3 of Flatter, 1/3 of water. My general combo is a scentless Best Press, a Flatter in generally fig or pineapple are my favorites, but most of the scents are pretty good. I like lacy too, so I don't think you can go wrong. And then water. But you can go the opposite. You can go scentless Flatter in lavender Best Press. Scent, that's up to you guys. Scentless everything if you're sensitive to perfumes. Whatever works. That's all up to you guys. But I do 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And that's what I use to press all my fabrics generally in the beginning. And then I use it to press my blocks in the end. Okay, so the benefits are with the Flatter. This is a really good one for being a wrinkle releaser, and it is organic. It does not have any chemicals that are going to attract any bugs. So sometimes you can hear about like the grocery store starches, the old school starches, the homemade starches that use like potato and some of that kind of stuff. They're going to attract bugs. So your quilt that you just lovingly made and gifted or kept for yourself, anything, and you put it in a chest somewhere, if it's got some of those types of chemicals or potato, or they're natural, they are going to attract bugs who are going to eat holes in your quilts. So both Flatter and Best Press do not have those types of chemicals that are going to attract those bugs. So your quilt's going to be a little safer. Best Press I like because it's a little stiffer than Flatter. So this is if you really want nice and crisp. Flatter if you want those wrinkles out. We just combine it all and get the best magic potion that we think we can combine. So that's what we do. You guys do whatever you want. If you only want wrinkle release, Flatter is what we suggest. If you just like nice and firm, Best Press. Adding the water just kind of gives you longevity. Because if you're like me, I'm like a heavy spritzer. I don't know how to just do 1, 2. I'm like mega spritzer. So watering it down kind of just makes it so it doesn't get too much starch in your fabric. So it's that nice balance for me to make sure that I'm getting it crisp and the wrinkles out, but not too crisp. And eventually that starch is going to wash out when you wash your quilts. Later on down the road, it will eventually come out. As far as irons, what we carry in the store, so we have the Aliso irons. Let's see, can you see this guy? A little limited in my space. And then we have the Steam Fast, so the little baby iron. This is one of my favorite travel irons. The Steam Fast little travel iron, and the Aliso makes a nice little travel iron. Both of them are really good. This guy I love because you can put water in it, so it'll still steam. You can see little steam holes. But it's nice and compact, but most of the time my blocks aren't huge. So this will still get the job done at a retreat or a class, but you're not carrying a big, bulky iron. So if you're looking for something to take with you, this is the guy to do. And then if home irons, definitely, I'll kind of show you. If you can probably hear it making all kinds of noise. Oh, we got sunshine. Hey, look at that. So the noise you hear is the legs going down and then up. So once I grab it, it'll go down and I can iron. And please do not pay attention to how filthy my ironing station is. It's well loved. And then when I let go, it pops back up. I don't have to worry about if I accidentally left it down, burnt my house down. So it just pops up, and this way I'm not going to cook any fabric underneath It's got that nice safety feature. I can turn it off. So you do have the option if you don't like it and you're used to old school and you just leave it sitting. Look at all that steam. Oh, this is why I love this guy. This is like the super steamer to the max. So this is my super well loved iron, and I really haven't had any issues with it. You probably can tell I should have cleaned it before this too, because everything I have is very well loved. So this is the plus side. I just like it. It just is a nice good press, and it is great in combo with the wool mat. So the wool mat retains heat. So what's the positive of this is when you're ironing, and I was going to show you. So I have, say, just a strata, 2 strips of fabric together. I'm going to iron it. Okay, when you're using the wool, what's really nice is once you hold it down, it's heating both from the underneath and from the top. So where I've already ironed is actually nice and warm on both sides. And if you know me, you know I press my seams open. And generally, I don't know if you can tell, I'm holding this guy over here. So if I hold this guy over here, my seams just, they'll go open. They don't try to flip one way or the other. So this is how I do this. Now keep in mind as I'm pressing, I'm not pressing super hard downward. I'm not trying to stretch the fabric or stretch the strata. I'm just gently gliding it to open that seam. And then I try to train myself. I let it sit, let it cool down just a little bit, let that heat kind of soak up from both sides, and then I'll flip it and do the same. Oh, and the very first step, I didn't explain what I did. So when the 2 pieces of fabric were together, before I pressed anything, and I just ran my iron down it, that's what you call setting the seam. And I know some of you out there who shall not be named watch other people who don't set their seams and freak out and go, why aren't they setting their seam? The benefit of setting that seam is that the thread then kind of tightens up in there and makes it a nice firm seam. And that way you don't have to worry about your seams popping open and those kinds of things. So I do always iron my strata before I even open the seam and iron it again. A lot of ironing in my house. So then I just let this sit so it cools down a little bit. And then I'm going to see if you guys can see this in my nice sunshiny window today. Just a nice flat open seam, a nice strata, no wave to it. I don't have any curve. This one turned out just gorgeous. So those are kind of my tips as far as ironing goes. That's just my general rules. Just gently pressing, holding, not putting a lot of force. When I first started quilting, force was, yeah, you made that seam behave, you made that block behave. And if you're running into issues of your block maybe being too skinny, sometimes I may recommend what we used to call aggressive pressing. But these days it's no longer recommended because you really don't want your fabric stretching and pulling when it shouldn't. So unless it's really necessary, nice flat downward pressure. If you're using the wool mat so it's getting warm on both sides, that's what I highly recommend because I get the best results with this. And I've used ironing boards and of all different kinds, and those are fine, but this has given me the best result, as you can tell, because this is a very well loved mat. This is my only ironing, so I can iron quite a bit of stuff in this nice little space with this iron in this setup. And the only other thing just to talk about that we have in the store, we have these awesome patterns. Caddy pad. This is Caddy Pad Junior. There's a regular Caddy Pad. If you are taking your iron and traveling classes and things, what's nice is these patterns. My mom made this sample long ago. I love my mom. She helps me out. Once again, well loved. What's nice with the pattern is it comes with this heat fabric. So your iron goes in here and it can go in here warm. So a lot of times you're done with class and you're like, oh shoot, and you unplug the iron and the iron's still warm, and then it melts your carpet in your car or melts something in your bag because you didn't have time for it to cool down before they told you needed to leave the shop, go home. What's nice is that this will not burn. So this is going to retain that heat for you so that your iron can travel safely with you. And so it does come in the 2 sizes, the size for the bigger irons or the smaller travel iron. and they just can go inside. I'll show you this guy. And this has a super long cord. I mean, geez. Because who likes to have those short cords on irons? Because, you know, the power strip always seems to be 50 feet away for you, especially at a retreat. So nice long cord on that thing. Tuck it in. And this guy is ready to roll. Look at this. So, and it's all tucked in there. You're not burning anything. It's going to keep that heat in there. So that is the benefit of that pattern itself, is that it does come with this nice material. And unfortunately, we don't carry this on the bolt. So the only way to get it is in this pattern. But I'm hoping that went a little faster than I expected, talking about ironing. Sometimes I feel like ironing has so many caveats. So this is my setup. Wool pad, good iron, just nice even pressing. And then, starching. We can show you. So then in the end, once this is pressed, there we go. So I just spray it. Okay. And I just kind of set that spray right in there. And then this is nice, crisp, ready to trim. Like I said, I'll let it sit. You may not be able to see because, of course, we finally get a sunny day in Washington. So that starch it really makes those fibers nice and tight. So those looser weaves, especially your Essex wovens that I love, shock cottons, Giuseppe Juicy Juice just came out with some great wovens. Any of those, definitely highly recommend using some sort of starch spray to just keep those nice wovens just a little tighter for you to play with, because otherwise those ones especially like to fray and fall apart. So definitely my go-to for those fabrics. But everything I do a lot of starching just to keep them nice and crisp and pretty, and I don't have to worry about everything stretching and moving around and getting all wonky on me. So I'm hoping this helped everybody out. I hope everybody has a lovely Monday, because at least there's a little bit of sunshine here. So maybe I'll go enjoy some of it and then get back to my sewing room when it's not blaring in my face at my sewing station. So happy Monday. You guys just keep on stitching.